Cool it down.
And that's part of it. But there's another reason that it started.
In the back?
Maybe it's too bitter, the way they make it. They like steep it for too long.
It is an effect that it lowers the tannins,
Right.
But that's not why it started.
But that was a good answer.
That's a good answer.
But true, if you put milk and sugar in anything, it's going to make it taste right.
Was it expensive, so the milk made it cheaper?
Yes,
That's a good
that is one of the two reasons.
Yep.
Milk was cheaper than tea. So because milk was cheaper than tea, they put milk in the tea. But there was another practical reason they put milk in tea, and that is when they first started doing tea, especially in England, they were using, the people, as opposed to the royalty, were using a cheap ceramic cup and pot, and the hot water would crack it. So what the typical British tradition was to put the milk in the cup first, to prevent the crackage, and then to pour the tea on top. And to this day, whether you're using fine bone china or not, that's the British tradition, to put the milk in first and then pour the tea on top. Now, and all the scientific studies that have come out in recent years have shown that adding milk to tea actually inhibits some of the health benefits. So tea has lots of antioxidants in it that are natural, and the antioxidants have lots of positive health effects. Milk, on the other hand, binds in a certain way to prevent the antioxidants from acting in the same manner. So milk might lower the tannins on a really strong tea. It might prevent a pot from cracking. It might be cheaper than the tea, but if there's a health benefit desire, it lowers the health benefits. But overall, like I said, from this, we advocate trying tea straight, without sugar, without milk, without anything. And then if you want to add something, by all means, it's your choice.
Young lady had a question?
Yeah, I just have a question. When you're saying the milk takes away some of the benefits, like if you put almond milk or soy milk in there, would the same thing happen?
I don't know. The studies were basically, last year, the studies came out, there was a scientific symposium on human health and tea, and it was held at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and scientists came from around the world, and they didn't report on almond milk or soy milk, they reported on cow's milk. So I don't know the answer to that, but we know that, we're going to tell you today, we blend tea with lots of stuff, okay, lots of stuff. So we don't stop at brewing tea with water. We brew tea with beer. We brew tea with wine, we brew tea with vodka, and a series of classes we're going to have at Living Social this summer. This is the last of the traditional tea courses for this year, but this summer we're going to have iced tea courses, and we're going to have alcohol tea courses as well, where we're going to brew, so I'm sorry that we will not allow anyone under 21 in those classes, but it's really kind of fun to use it, because we believe, Americans believe in choice in many things. Well, we believe in choice. Certainly, you have a choice to put something in your tea, and you'll find as we go forward, some of the teas tonight are really good in beer. And that first tea you had, that green tea with the cherry blossom, is actually excellent in a Chardonnay or a Riesling. And when we do it, we brew the tea straight. We use no water. We brew the tea straight in the alcoholic beverage. So it's an interesting approach, and we're here about, I think Americans love mixology as well. And what we're going to talk tonight, we'll talk about brewing tea loose as opposed to in bags. And when you brew it loose, one of the other great things you can do is you can mix and match yourself. Create your own blends. Find something that meets your fancy. Take a little of the cream Earl Grey black that we have and add a little bit of that, add a little bit of perhaps the green tea with the cherry blossoms in it. There are so many different things that you can do, but that would be your choice.
So how's the pairing going now with your fluffier, savorier scone? How are you enjoying that? It has a little bite. Can you get that pepperiness coming out now due to the green tea? Okay. Yeah. Has anybody tried that green tea with the currant scone? Just so you know that we're not leading you astray. You trust? Well, we're in D.C. You shouldn't just trust us right away. All these politicians, they got their own agendas.
So the last thing on green tea before we move and start brewing an oolong tea is temperature and time. We've said it, but I'm going to say it again. A green tea should be brewed 1 to 3 minutes at 175 degrees. Don't go more. But when you're done, feel free to use that green tea bag again and again. You should get 2 to 3 infusions out of a green tea. You'll get 3 to 5 infusions out of an oolong. You'll get 2 to 3 out of a black tea. So they all vary a little bit, but throwing it away after the first use is and sometimes considered throwing away the best part.
To tell you the truth, in most other cultures, they tend to not even drink that first initial steeping. What they call the first initial steeping is a pre-washing. in which they take the tea leaves, they'll add the water, they'll let it wash or soak for about 20 to 30 seconds, and they'll dump the water. And I mean, truth is, tea is an agricultural product, grows in all natural situations. So, you know, you're cleansing it, you're washing off some of the dirt, some of the earthiness off of it. So typically, with especially a lot of your higher quality loose teas, that second infusion will bring out a more nuanced flavor in your cup. And this is important when going to our next tea, our oolong tea, our Tai Kuan Yin Slimming Oolong tea, because the first steeping is called Awakening the Dragon. This tea, the dragon tea, you'll find it's a fuller leaf tea that is semi-oxidized, and it has properties of both a black and a green tea. This oolong is going to be more green with a slightly oxidized edge, which takes on a blacker tea property. So the first steeping, you'll get an earthy tone to it, but the second steeping, the third steeping, takes on a more honeysuckle note, a more nuanced flavor. Oolong teas, you'll find you can steep up to 3 to 5 times because they're more fuller leaf tea. So let's go ahead and get your oolong teas out, put it in your cup. We'll steep that for 3 minutes.
Can we dump?
Well, you have 2 cups in front of you. You should have 2 cups. Yeah, go use the second cup. Right. And then we'll have the go around a second to dump in, okay? So we're going to steep this oolong, this Tai Kuan Yin Slimming Oolong, for 3 minutes. You can go ahead and start pouring. Young lady, you had a question?
2, 1. Can you get a little bit of sugar? 2, for those of us who do it this way, and you're going to work, you don't have time to do several infusions. What's the best way to store it to use it again?
Sure.
Because it's not like we're going to pack it up and take it with us to work.
So there are products that are on the market for that purpose. So for example, we've started this because one of our objectives at Capital Teas is to make tea brewing fun and easy and convenient. So we sourced a product that it's called, it's made by Aladdin, and it's a travel tumbler, and it has the tea in the top of the basket. And after the appropriate amount of brew time, you flick a handle, and the tea goes up into the top, and then you can drink your entire tea, and then guess what? The tea's there, and you can put it back in.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
water again. So we thought about these things because, yeah, Americans want convenience, right? So we want to make it fun and easy, and that's like a product you can do it with. What I tend to do when I'm at the office is I tend to use this thing called a magic tea maker. And the way a magic tea maker works is you put the loose tea into the. Do we have any water? Okay, it's going to be small. So imagine this has already been used once, so you can see the tea leaves have expanded. We use this thing just again making it easy. This is called a perfect pot of teaspoon. So this is 20 ounces. This is good for about 18 to 20 ounces. You take that much tea, you put it in. After the first infusion, it has the tea leaves have expanded. But imagine that. So we're going to go and do a second infusion. The tea is going to steep, and it's going to steep before your eyes. And then when you are ready, I'm going to do this in plastic so that you can see what happens. When you're ready to drink the tea, you put it on top of any cup, and it comes out. Okay, and it just makes it really easy. So it makes it really easy to make tea, and we, like I said, we want to make it fun and easy. Do we have all those fancy old-fashioned teapots, bone china? Yes. Do we have those because tea can be this cultural experience that you can enjoy in a formal setting, but tea can also be fun and you can have it around. Now, what do you do with this tea? Well, when you're ready to drink it again, put it in the fridge for the next day. In fact, so a lot of people have asked me, how long do you leave these things? And by the way, these lids come off. 9 times out of 10, I leave the lids off because it's easier for me. So I have these scattered all over my office because we're constantly trying teas because we want to bring in new teas every quarter, and we're always trying the new stuff that comes out, like now the first flush Darjeelings. So I can tell you that last Friday I tried a tea, and it was a really great oolong. And then I left for the weekend and I left it on my desk. And I didn't put it in the fridge. I came in Monday and I looked at it, looked to see if there was any mold. No mold. So I basically used it again. It was fabulous because it was a really nice oolong. So I think you have to experiment with anything. How long is bread good for? And when are you going to eat it for? But tea is pretty resilient. But if I wanted to be really concerned about it, stick it in the fridge and use it the next day.
But we often recommend, and I should say this, 24 hours though is our recommended time though for leaving tea out or refrigerated, just because you do want to watch out for molding. And sometimes we live on the edge of drinking tea that's been out for a while, but you shouldn't necessarily if you can avoid it, okay? So yeah, try to keep it covered, keep it in your fridge for like 24 hours, and then you can bring it back and steep a couple of times, okay?
So this tea, this oolong's a relative newcomer to the tea world. Oolong's only been around less than 200 years. And it's because it's really hard to make. And it's some of the most expensive tea is oolong. So to make oolong tea, as opposed to that green tea where we wanted to stop the oxidation completely, on oolong, you want part of the tea leaf oxidized and part of the tea leaf not oxidized. So they take the tea leaves in, guidance for those that were later take it out. They shake the tea leaves in these big baskets, and they shake and they shake and they shake. And machines do this a lot now. And for about 2 hours, they shake and they break the edges. So you're basically bruising the edges of the tea leaf, but you're leaving the middle part not bruised. And then you heat it. So you've stopped oxidation on the part that's not broken on the green part, and you've oxidized the part that's broken on the outside. And then you keep the leaf fully together. You curl it so that oolong tea becomes really big. You'll notice in your tea bags, after you take them out, that oolong tea is expanded a lot.
And make the comparison to hold up your Genmaicha tea bag and compare it with your Slimming Oolong tea bag. You'll notice, and it's 2.5 grams of in tea leaf in these bags. But the oolong bag looks like it's bigger. That's because the tea leaf, because it's fuller, it's expanding. And as you continue to brew it, the numerous steepings, it'll open up more and you'll need more space. That's why we often recommend when brewing your loose tea leaves, and I don't know how many of you are loose tea leaf brewers, when brewing your tea leaves, instead of using those smaller metal mesh tea balls, you should try to use something a little bigger, a little wider, like this Magic Tea Maker or a wider infuser, because some teas do need room to develop and open up so you can get the fuller flavor. It's not good when you take out your tea ball and it's crammed full of tea. It's not good for the tea, it's not good for your cup. So try to get a bigger infuser so your tea can open up and you can get all the flavor, all the livelihood out of the tea. Okay?
People sometimes ask, can you make tea in a K-cup? Well, you can.
You can.
But
Should.
are you getting a good tea? No. Why? Because the water's coming through the middle of the K-cup. It's not allowing the tea to expand.
It's not allowing the tea to
It's
soak.
not giving you any time
Right.
with the tea. And you can make a nice brown water quickly if you use a cheap enough tea with a high surface area. And then you could add milk and sugar till it tastes better. But that's not the way to make really good tea. The way to make really good tea is to allow the tea to expand in the water. And so that's why you'll see the kind of bags we're using tonight. We're not using the typical supermarket mesh bag with a ground tea product inside, because that's not really great, and you're not expanding the tea leaf. And if you put a full leaf tea in there, it would just break the bag. Here what you're doing is, these pyramidal bags is allowing the tea to expand.
Which are also biodegradable. We're trying to lower our footprint as well. So,
Anybody know how tea bags were invented?
By accident?
It's true, by accident. Any knowledge out?
The guy where it blew into his
No. So what happened was this guy, I think his name was Thomas Stevenson. I don't remember his name exactly, but he was selling tea to restaurants. And so when you sell tea to restaurants, sometimes you send them samples. So he sent them his tea samples in silk mesh bags so that they could use to make tea. Well, restaurants in the United States, being into convenience, decided we'll just brew it in the bag. And they stuck the tea bag, the whole bag with the thing, into the, and he didn't realize this was happening. Thomas Sullivan was his name. Sullivan, yeah. He didn't realize this was happening until he changed his bag type, and then they complained that they wanted the old silk bags back so that they could put the entire tea bag in. And an entire industry was born by mistake because of the convenience factor. And to this day, the United States uses more tea bags than do other countries because of convenience. But over the past few years, we and others have developed the path of using this biodegradable pyramidal tea bag to give you the best of both worlds. But it is about double the price. So you have to know that if you buy loose tea from us and you buy tea bags from us, at the same exact tea, the tea bags are double the price. And the reason is simply per serving. And the reason is simply there's a lot of labor and cost in actually producing those tea bags.
so how's everybody enjoying their Tai Kwan Yin Oolong? Okay. Have you tried it with your basil pepper scone?
Yeah.
How's that working out? Have you tried it with the other scone? No? Go ahead, give it a whirl. Yes, young lady.
Are you supposed to try this one with the polka dots?
No, the less polka dot one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fluffy.
the fluffy one. Yes. Now, like I said again, this oolong tea, you can brew it several times. It does have a livelihood to it, and you should brew it several times. You will be wasting your money if you just stop on this first cup. Now, take my word for it. The first cup is just earthy. It may have a nice floral note to it, but it's more earthier. Once you come back and you do that second cup, allowing that tea to develop more, it's going to have that honeysuckle flavor and taste. That third cup, more floral and fragrant, less honeysuckle, but definitely still as subtly sweet.
We need to
Now,
pass these around, we should do.
Okay.
We're going to pass around the sniffing jars as well for the oolong while we're going.
I thought I did already. No problem. So now the question is, so when you steep your tea that second, third time, are you going to steep it longer? Yes, you want to. You want to steep it traditionally a minute longer because you're going to need that extra minute to pull out more of that flavor and taste. Know that all your steepings afterwards are going to reduce the caffeine level and the flavor of your tea at least a notch. So that's why you're giving it the extra minute to try to pull out more of the flavors. Okay? Yes, sir, lady.
Just a quick question.
Yes,
I know I've been to different tea tastings and they've talked about, or others have talked about covering your cup once you put your
Yes.
tea bag or your loose tea in, you cover it, and then others talk about don't cover it. So which is it?
I actually recommend to cover it.
Okay.
Sometimes you don't cover it just as
I understand.
Right, but when making your tea, and a lot of our infusers do come with covers in it, especially our universal infusers, because what you're doing then, just like in cooking, that heat is staying on the
Like
tea
put the
leaves,
top
and
on
it's
the
actually helping you to open and help develop that tea leaf a little more. So whenever possible, you should try to cover your tea leaf. Yep. Yes, ma'am. Oh, the first tea that you have, the iced tea, it's our organic cherry blossom rose green tea. Cherry blossom rose organic green tea. Okay? Now, oolongs are one of the more expensive teas in our collection. Oolongs can go for as high up as $2,000 per kilogram. And yeah, there was actually an oolong that I saw. Well, we have an oolong, our milk oolong, which are one of our more expensive oolong, goes for about $46 for 2 ounces. But once you work it out and you're doing that multiple steeping, right, it gets down to about $1 per cup. Once you do the math on it, and each cup is very, very delicious.
In fact, it's actually one of my favorite teas in our entire lineup. Because you get exotic tastes. And now we're in the process now of bringing on a few, based on what's interesting is as the tea palates of Americans expand, they want more and more. And we want more and more. And my tea palate has expanded a lot in the last 5 or 6 years. So what we initially do is we start with flavored teas, and then they meet our particular need for a particular taste, and then we want more and more exotic tastes. And now we're into those exotic oolongs and those some exotic Darjeeling first flushes, and it's really kind of cool. So we are now at Capital Teas sampling many, many types of tea to add some even higher end teas into our lineup, some Taiwanese oolongs. There's one that I have a particular fancy for, and when I say, well, what do they do differently on this tea? Why is it so unique? It's called Oriental Beauty, and it's a Taiwanese tea that has a particular type of cricket that comes to infest the field, and the cricket's saliva partially oxidizes the tea leaves, and it's obviously in limited quantity, but I can tell you that it is the most exotic, exquisite taste, and I absolutely love it. And if you can get past the fact that cricket saliva has partially oxidized the tea leaves, it's really phenomenal. So there are neat things and there are nuances out there, and we'll continue to expand the offerings that we have.
Now, I know you've heard me call this oolong, again, a slimming oolong. The truth is, all oolong really has that slimming effect, and Dr. Oz talks about this tea all the time, as well as Pu'ers. What the slimming part of the oolong is, it has a filling effect for you. So you find that if you're drinking it either with or during or after a meal, it's filling you up so you're eating less. After your meal, it's working with your metabolism to help you digest your food. So if you're drinking this as a part of a regimen, doing something like 3 to 4 cups a day, Dr. Oz says for about a month, you'll find yourself eating, feeling, and craving food a lot differently, okay? Truth is, the average tea drinker does something like 6 to 8 cups of tea a day, but the cup sizes are different. When I say cups of tea a day for most Americans, they're thinking the big coffee mug sizes, which are about 12 to 14 ounces big. But the usual measurements are about 4 ounces for an Asian teacup, 6 ounces for a European teacup, just enough room for the pinky out, right? And then for an American teacup, about 8 ounces is an average size. So 6 to 8 ounce cups of tea a day is a part of a normal tea drinker's regimen. And to tell you the truth, we do that easily. I mean, easily do I wake up in the morning, start my day off with a cup of maybe a black tea or oolong. By midday, I'm doing a green tea. Early afternoon, I do a white tea. That'll be my 5-hour energy drink because it still has a bit of caffeine, but not too much, just enough to get through the last meetings with him, right? Then I wrap up my day with something non-caffeinated, like a chamomile or a mint or herbal tea, so that because I know if I drink tea, if I drink true tea in the evening, while the caffeine levels are different from coffee, coffee has an instant up and down, instant pick me up and drop you down. But tea has a crescendo of energy that happens over a longer period of time. You like that? I think I should like crescendo, right? So if you're drinking it late at night, it's going to stay with you a longer period of time. So it's great if you have like a test you're trying to study for, or you're getting your paperwork ready for your meeting tomorrow night or tomorrow. So just know that if you're drinking tea at night, it's going to stay with you, okay?
To give you an idea about how tea can keep you up, though, I go to a number of different tea conferences and get to speak at them. And last year, one of the ones in Philadelphia was called the World Tea East. I went out to dinner with a bunch of the other speakers. And we just went to the Chart House in Philadelphia, and it was great. And after dinner, they came around, and every single one of us ordered coffee. And there was 2 reasons that we all ordered coffee. Number one, we knew that their tea wouldn't be as good as ours. I'm sure that was,
Definitely.
But number 2, and very importantly, we knew that the tea would keep us up all night. Because the caffeine, the caffeine in coffee will keep you up long enough to get back to your hotel and go to bed. The tea will keep you up for a couple more hours because it's a long-acting caffeine. It's because of the other chemicals in tea and the way that tea interacts with your body.
All right, so let's get ready and let's move on to our next tea and pair it with our wonderful current scone that you've been waiting for. We're going to start off black teas with our Darjeeling, our organic Darjeeling TGFOP, and it's going to be an Indian Darjeeling.
So now, one thing that's really cool about this tea is it brings a history lesson to mind, and I like stories. And, the British Empire learned about tea in the 1600s or so, and the only place they could get tea then was in China. And a big trade, a lot of trade went on in tea subsequent to that. In fact, there are theories that what floated the British Empire was the trading of tea and the trading of opium. And because of this, the British wanted to break the monopoly that China had on tea. And at that point in China, foreigners were prohibited from many areas of China, and they couldn't go to where the tea was. So the British actually sent spies to go into China, and they sent the spies into China to get the tea bushes, to get the seedlings, and to steal them, and to bring them back so that they could plant them in part of the British Empire. And they succeeded. And they brought that tea to Darjeeling in India, which is what you're tasting today. And in Darjeeling, you get the only part of the world where you have the Chinese variant of the tea plant that's grown outside of China and Japan, and it's in Darjeeling. Now, when they got to India and planted tea, they found that in other parts of India, like in Assam, the tea tree was growing wild. So in India, you actually have both types of tea, but in Darjeeling, you have the Chinese variant. So Darjeeling is a lighter, less bold black tea. It's often called the champagne of teas. It's not 100% oxidized. It's about 90% oxidized. And so it has a little bit of characteristics of green. And Iso mentioned that this one is a second flush, which means it was the second picking. It was probably picked around May, maybe early June, because the first flushes are typically in March. And then the other thing, it was TGFOP. So this is a rating system. This is a rating system for teas. It was developed in India, and then is used in Sri Lanka, and is used in Kenya. Is not used in China or Japan, and is used primarily on black teas, or almost always on black teas.
Has anybody ever had a OP or orange pico?
Yes.
Okay. Lipton is an orange pico. Okay.
So that's a grade. Okay, orange pico is not a flavor; it's a grade. And the more letters, essentially, like I mentioned, rules of thumb. One of the rules of thumb is the more letters, the higher the grade. So orange pico, and then flowery orange pico, and then tippy golden flowery orange pico, and then super tippy golden flowery orange pico. And then, imagine saying it. So this one's the TGFOP.
Tippy golden flowery orange pico, and you can look it online. The breakdown is extensive in categories.
It's kind of like if anyone has ever had a cognac, you get VS and VSOP, and XO, and then if you go in the Hennessy line, they have Paradis, and then they have the Louis Trays, and I guess that's Remy Martin, but you know, you basically have these different grades, well, the same thing in tea. And then you can do it in wines as well. The Germans do Qualitäts or Tafelwein, Qualitätswein with Predikat. The Italians do the DOCG on their fine wines. So it's just a grading system. And there's something to be aware of. So if you go into a tea shop, if you see this TGFOP or STGFOP, you know what it is.
Know that TGFOP is like the A grade. OP, the orange Pico that you get from Lipton, it's about average, okay? So TGFOP is the A, STGFOP or anything higher are gonna be like the A+. So today, you got a golden star on your TGFOP. Good job, guys, on the day. You had a question?
So there's no, it's the baseline is OP, there's no PICO grade?
Well, Pico is actually not the grading, it's actually the name of the house that the tea was brought in to be sorted in. So that's actually a remnant of the old way of the old house of grading the tea.
The other thing is that even though you have, so how do you grade these teas? What happens is tea leaves are brought in, they go through all these different manufacturing processes, rolling, cutting, you know, depending on how they're done. The orthodox method is to roll the tea leaf. The more modern mass market is to cut, tear, and curl the tea leaf. And it affects the size of the tea leaf. So you put the teas through a series of sieves. The higher up in the sieves, the bigger the leaf, the better the tea leaf. All the way down at the very bottom, the particles that are left when you remove all the tea is called dust and fanning. And so dust and fanning is actually what most of the filtered tea bags in a supermarket are. It's dust and fanning, so it's basically I call it the product that's left when you take the tea leaves away. But it has that high surface area that makes brown water quickly. And that's what many people grew up on, knowing as tea. And it certainly has remnants of tea in it, but it doesn't have the same flavor characteristics.
Is that why you can't do like brew or lift it back twice? It tastes like
You can't brew Lipton back twice because there's really no tea there. I mean, there's no tea leaves. There's nothing that's expanded. You've got dust.
The buzzer go off the second time? The buzzer go off the second time?
The buzzer did not go up yet.
Perfect.
And we're pairing that tea again with the current scone. So the young lady already told me it tastes better with the current scone. So the Darjeeling is a classic morning tea. Like you said earlier, India is one of the few places that carries, or one of the only places that has in it both a Chinese variant and the Indian variant of the same tea. So that allows you to have two different flavors of the tea. And you'll notice we say certain words and certain vocabularies when talking about our teas. When you talk about green teas, you're going to use the words vegetal, roasted, green, grassy, seaweedish, spinachy, right? When you're talking about black teas, you'll use words like astringent, muscatel. You'll use smoky, like a Lapsang Souchong, earthy, woodsy, nutty, maybe. So these are words. So you'll find the Darjeeling teas are going to be more muscatel, growing at the foothills of the Himalayas. More muscatel, sweeter notes at the tail end, but its counterpart, the Assam teas, the ones that grow in northern India, are going to be more astringent, have more of a bite to them. Okay, those are two differences between the two teas. But they're still classic morning teas. If you think about English tea time, these teas are enjoyed with a good scone, your jams, your jellies, your lemon curds, and clotted cream. That's the other one, yes. So it's a part of a traditional English breakfast, okay? So how's that pairing? How's that tasting for you guys? It's okay? Okay? You get that pop of the currant with that mild note of the Darjeeling? Okay? Good.
So does anybody have any questions on India or tea? So, okay.
If you're making a pot of tea,
Yes.
how many tea bags?
Depends on the size of the pot. So generally, we would say 1 tea bag per 6 ounces in the pot. So the 6